Someone more angry than me.
Good morning and welcome to our press conference about the spending bill today that we're going to be voting on. You know, it's very telling. We had a Republican conference meeting, our weekly meeting, this past Wednesday, and it was very clear during that meeting that a majority of Republicans, mind you, are willing to vote for this spending bill today. Wednesday morning, we knew that the 72-hour rule would be violated. We didn't have text yet, 48 hours out, and it was clear, though, that a majority of Republicans were willing to vote for the bill today, irrespective of what was in it, not knowing what the spending levels were, not knowing exactly how much it was increasing spending over the Pelosi-Schumer levels that are still in place today from the omnibus that was passed in December of 22. Not knowing the exact spending levels, not knowing how harmful the policies might be beyond the ones that the American people are already suffering under that are still in place from that omnibus. And they didn't need, I think one member said he'd vote for it if it was 72 minutes instead of 72 hours. You know, we don't need 72 hours to vote against a bad bill, but you would think if you're planning to vote for it, you might want to actually know what policies you will own by the virtue of your yes vote on that bill. Is there anything that some Republicans won't do to keep this government open? Why are we in a rush to keep this government open that is so harming the American people by the very policies which they are suffering under? But the bill, hey, one positive, I guess, it'll have thousands of earmarks for billions of dollars, earmarks which are used to buy or reward bad votes for bad votes for bad bills, like the bill that will pass today, it does seem. This bill, again, maintains the Pelosi-Schumer policies and spending levels. Actually, it increases the spending levels by about $60 billion that were in place from the omnibus that we all voted against a year and a half ago. But it has some new things that we want to point out here. It's got $1 billion for the climate focus of the military. How absurd is that? Think about what we might be able to do with $1 billion for our military Department of Defense to actually focus on lethality, force readiness, effectiveness, so that we might win a conflict that we hope not to have. But instead, the Biden administration is getting another $1 billion for the climate focus of the military, getting $200 million for a new headquarters for this FBI. Why would any Republican vote to give $200 million to this FBI for a new headquarters? It continues to fund the WHO, the tool of communist China that was used to deceive us during the COVID virus situation, and that the WHO that President Trump wisely defunded, that Joe Biden put back in place funding for as soon as he got into office, the WHO that Biden wants to surrender our sovereignty to 60-some days from now, so that in a so-called crisis deemed by the WHO, we would be forced to comply with what the WHO said in whatever they deem to be a health crisis or a climate crisis or a poverty crisis, or so-called gun violence crisis. So we're going to continue to fund the WHO. It's got $32 million for the UN Population Fund, but I misspeak, the UN Abortion Fund, and $3 billion more for the Department of Homeland Security. This DHS under Mayorkas and Biden that continues to perpetrate this invasion on the American people. We have entered a new era when it comes to the border invasion, a new era yesterday. Many of you, I hope, saw the video that we saw, where at first we thought, is this a third world country? Is this a banana republic? When we saw the alien mob rush, the bum rush of border officials to force their way into this country. How have we got to that point today where we are allowing illegal aliens to bum rush border officials and force their way into the country? And yet the Biden administration's response, is it to ramp up efforts to repel the invasion? No, their intention is to prevent Texas from securing their border. They will go to unlimited lengths to prevent Texas from securing their border and keeping their citizens safe. But they don't seem to care about the aliens forcing their way, literally forcing their way into our country, overcoming border personnel. Either we show the willingness to respond and repel and deter this kind of activity, or we can just go ahead and fund it. And the bill that's being voted on today will be Republicans joining with Democrats to fund this DHS. Instead, we must say enough, not on our watch. And we need 146 Republicans today, 146, 2/3, to vote against this bill today. 1/3 can go ahead and vote for it. But if just 2/3 would join us and vote against this bill, it will not pass on the floor under suspension. So I'm privileged to be here with my colleagues to speak against this bill, to speak against funding this government and these policies, and to speak against funding this border invasion, which reached a new low yesterday. And with that, I yield to Chairman Scott Perry from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr.